All right, looks like we got some people joining us today. We are going to wait about 2 minutes and give some people the opportunity to join. Give you some dance music, a little bit more exciting than elevator music. We'll get started in a couple minutes. If you want to pop into the chat where you're coming from, state, school, whatever you feel like sharing, please pop it into the chat. Awesome. I see Canada is the first representative. Tennessee for Holly. Hey, Holly. I haven't seen your name in a long time. We got someone from Oregon, Washington State. Awesome. Another Canada. Thanks for joining us, Deborah. All right, we got about 60 more seconds or so, and we will go ahead and get started. We got some from Texas, Riverside, another Calgary, amazing, Kentucky, Nevada. Anthony Lee, you're from Anthony Lee? Thanks for joining us. Maryland, Tallahassee. All right, looks like we've made it from across the country. All right, Dave, you ready to go? We're about 2 minutes after. Sweet.
Do it.
All right, if you don't mind going ahead and sharing your screen. Thank you everyone for joining. If you want to keep putting your name, where you're from, please feel free. We are going to go ahead and get started. Just a quick couple of housekeeping things to note. This is a webinar format, if you haven't realized that, so you won't be able to come off mute or we can't see your screen. But if you have questions throughout the session, please feel free to populate those into the chat. For the most part, Dave Cook is going to be leading tonight's session on personal finance and how it intertwines with Entrepreneurship Month. I will be stopping him along the way, asking him some of the questions that we see in the chat. And then hopefully at the end, we will have a little bit more time to go ahead and go through that. But thank you for joining us today. I know depending on where you're from, it could be late, could be 4:30, might even be a little bit earlier depending on your time zone. So again, thanks for joining us. We have a tight packed next hour and we're looking forward to it. So Dave, if you don't mind, go ahead to the next slide. Really quick question for everyone. This is our last session for Entrepreneurship Month. If you want to type in the chat, who joined us for any of the earlier sessions, whether it was part of the Dream session for learning about what is entrepreneurship, what does it mean for students, how do we go through it in the classroom? Did anyone join us for our Build session? How do we teach entrepreneurship in the classroom? How do we go through and use specific curriculum? Dave, you can go back one slide. I don't know if you clicked that on accident. Thank you. Did you join the Succeed portion? Again, how do we build student confidence in wanting to go through and really create and start that small business, knowing it is kind of a leap of faith? And then last but not least, today is personal finance. So how do we bridge the gap between personal finance and entrepreneurship? What is the connection? When you think about personal finance and you're running a business, you start lean, you start small. You're realistically probably running your small business as personal finance. On top of the connection of, not all students or even us, as educators and teachers know that, if you're looking to get credit for your business, you need personal finance. And so this is where today we're going to go ahead and help you bridge that gap with your students, talking about personal finance and why it's important to small businesses today. I see a quick question. Can we get a recording of the earlier sessions? Yes, I believe we will post these to our website, which we will share the link later. So great early first questions. Thanks, Paula. Just a quick question, or quick introduction of myself before I hand this over to Dave Cook. My name is Jared Davidov. I get the privilege of leading the product teams here at Intuit on our corporate responsibility education team. Quite simply, what that means is how we teach personal finance and entrepreneurship to university and high school students using our tools. So today, Dave Cook is going to go through a lot of that for you. And with that, Dave, I will hand it over to you.
Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be here. My name is David Cook. I am a teacher at the Cary Grove High School. I'm here in the northwest suburb of Chicago, where we're excitedly entering winter. I know there's people from all across the country with different seasons. It's one of our favorite questions to kick off with is how's the weather outside when we do these meetups with people from all over. I've got almost 2 decades of teaching experience. I teach everything in our industry and careers departments, ranging from personal finance, computer basics, entrepreneurship, accounting. I'm really passionate about curriculum and instruction and bringing really what I find to be the most high quality tools and resources to students. And I'm excited to talk about those tonight. Everything that I'm going to talk about tonight is part of something that I've used with my students in my classes, and I'm really excited about. And then I have a personal passion for coaching tennis. So I don't know if we have a lot of coaches out there, but that's my favorite sport that I always like to talk about. So just quickly, and talking about me for the sake of these products that I'm going to share, I thought I was going to have a career in business and took some time to do a gap year and worked with AmeriCorps and had the privilege of working with the Center for Literacy in middle school and found that I loved education. I had a unique experience that I don't talk too much about, but I was placed with a 7th grade. And rather than just be assigned to one class or one teacher, it was a small school and I got to follow around a group of students, 25 kids who went 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and I was with them all day. And it was amazing for me to see. It really sparked my educator journey to watch what it looked like for kids to be really excited in a science class and then maybe snooze in an English class and wake back up for lunch. And I really got to see every day what is it that the teacher does to keep students alert and alive. I really had a lot of empathy for the idea of being in an 8-hour school day. And that really triggers me to try to bring out the best every period for students, knowing that my classes and my 45 minutes with them is just one of what they get every day. And I really do that by trying to lean into teaching them what matters. I had the opportunity a couple years ago to partner and work alongside Intuit and work with Jared and the team. It started with design thinking. I know that was a concept taught a couple sessions ago, 2 weeks ago, I think it was. Thumbs up, anybody at the session 2 weeks ago about design thinking? Jared, give me an idea of how many people thumbs up that. Because if it's a low number, we're gonna promote them going back and watching that.
We did get a couple earlier on when we were highlighting the sessions. So
Yeah.
I know we for sure have a few. I see Paula said she took the educator course. She said it was great.
Yeah. Well, to end, even if there's as little as 3 people in the room that did not do that, I got to be a part of design thinking with my students and Intuit's Design for Delight. And I tell you, it's been transformative in my career working with students. I use it on small projects and big projects. I highly encourage you. It's not a part of what we're talking about tonight, but I highly encourage you at the end, follow up if you need to figure out a link to go back and watch that. We have some great resources for both you as educators and your students. And that really sparked my interest, and I saw what Intuit does and how passionate Intuit is at making sure that the tools and resources that they have for teachers are impactful. And so that, and then the curriculum I'm going to talk about tonight, I've gotten to have a part of working with alongside Jared and the team to bring to the classroom. So it's easy and fun and natural for me to talk about this. So please fire questions at us as we go. There's 4 pieces I want to talk about tonight. But one more thing about me, I'm always looking to find out if anybody has a connection to an entrepreneurship class or VE. I have the privilege of teaching. Oh, I got a heart. That makes me happy. I will connect with whoever the person that Hearted VE is at the end of this. For those of you who don't know, virtual entrepreneurship is an amazing program. I can't speak highly about it enough. We're here talking tonight about personal finance and the connection that is to entrepreneurship. We know that if students are set up to succeed personally when it comes to finance and understanding of banking and credit, it's only going to help them all the more be confident to take that to business ventures that they get into. And I can't speak highly enough as a personal plug. If you're a business teacher or related in any way, I can't speak highly enough. And I would love the opportunity to talk to you more about virtual entrepreneurship, a class that I teach. It's a year-long simulation where my students and 500 other high schools around the United States connect. If I only have like 10 words to say about it, I say imagine Monopoly on steroids with 500 high schools all playing at the same time. If I have 20 minutes to talk about it, I tell lots of stories, and the pictures
We've got a lot of entrepreneurship teachers in the house, Dave. A lot
Yay!
of people feeding through and talking about how they teach in their I see business incubator, some at Boston University,
Awesome.
someone from Myrtle Beach. So a couple here teaching entrepreneurship.
That's fantastic. I know a lot about incubator in our district. One of our schools does incubator, and my colleague Brian has a lot of great things to say about incubator. These virtual enterprise and incubator and these entrepreneur simulations, if there's others that you are aware of, they put students at the center of learning. For those of you who know about DECA or FBLA, it's like that, but in a classroom. It's really exciting. So plug for that. So that's who I am. That's where my passion comes from. And let's talk about some resources we have for your students that are available to you to get students excited about business and personal finance and entrepreneurship. The first we have is a TurboTax simulation. I'm going to show in a little bit how we get started with this. We have 5 different miniature simulations. These are great. They're easy for teachers to use. I'm going to show it in a moment. And it's only about maybe 40 minutes to an hour and a half at most, depending on how much you take advantage of the additional resources and the follow-up questions and the discussions you can have. If you're familiar with EverFi, they've been a partner with us. Intuit and EverFi work together to make these available. And we have this live on a site where there's no barriers, where you can get started using it right away. So I'm going to switch screens in a second and show you, and then I will drop the link after I show. But if you're anything like my students, I need to wait to drop the link. Otherwise, you'll be off and on all sorts of different places. So we'll give you a little bit of mini investigative time in a minute. All right, oops, that's not what I wanted. I definitely didn't want to print the screen. All right. All right, we have our TurboTax simulation. Our goal is to help students become confident, get over their fear of filing taxes, and understand how simple it can be. I took my students through this each of the last 2 years, and I remember one student in particular just said, "Wait, it's that easy? I've got my W-2 and I've got all my pay stubs. Can I bring them into class and can we do it again tomorrow?" And I said, "Well, you could do it at home tomorrow." But it's that simple. If you're a student with one job and you live at home with your parents, you don't have a lot of complex financial situations, it's really easy to get started. So we're excited about this simulation. This link that we'll drop you is our Intuit site, and you have some resources that are available on here that I'll talk more about. But really, I want to show you how fast and quick and easy it is to get started with this.
Hey Dave, I'm getting some feedback that your audio is it's a little echoey. I don't know if you can if you're
Okay.
far from your mic or not, but I'll keep you posted.
All right, let me see what I can do about that.
It sounds pretty clear to me. If anyone has any changes, let me know.
Thank you, Jared. So this is our site where it lives. There's information and resources on here, an overview of what your students are going to learn and why, and some additional things for teachers. But it's really simple. We are now on the site. Click right here in the middle to get started. And I want to introduce you to Carlos, Martin, Chinwei, Dana, and Alani. And we start out with the simplest, where Carlos learns to file his taxes. Unlike EverFi, so this is also available through EverFi's site. If you go through EverFi, there's more steps to sign up, to have your students register, and we're excited to provide a way that's gets you there immediately. So both through EverFi and this, you can have the same experience, but this link that we're going to drop pretty quickly in chat, so you can take a look at it and bookmark it. I don't think I want to start audio, but I will. It takes us through a simulation. There's learnings, there's interactivity. I'm moving quickly. We learn the different ways to file taxes. And then we get to Carlos's scenario, which is going to take us about 20 minutes to get through. Carlos needs to file his taxes. And what we've done with this is we've embedded pieces of TurboTax right in the simulation. So for those of you who have used TurboTax or are familiar with it, this looks and feels a lot like what the TurboTax screen would be. And so students understand that when you file taxes, you need to put in personal pieces of information like where you live, your social security number, and if you're a dependent. And of course, we stop and pause throughout to say, well, what does this mean? What is a dependent? What does that mean? Why is that important? And so we have students read through and click. Okay, what does it mean to be a dependent? So at this point, I could spend the next 10 or 15 minutes and walk through the whole thing, but what I'd rather do is, Jared, at this point, if you would drop the link to TurboTax into the chat, and then we're going to give everybody a second to just open it up in a tab and bookmark it so we know you have it. And of course, we can be available at the end to answer questions.
I got a little excited, Dave, and did what you told me not to do. I previously dropped it exactly when you said not to, but I just did it again just in case.
That means nobody's been watching. I know what everybody's been doing. What is this link I can click on?
They all
We'll
have
make
it
sure
now.
if you awesome, thanks. We'll make sure you take a second to open that link and grab that in a new tab and find a way to bookmark it or add it to your list of resources to look at. Really excited about this. I think it really does meet, having gone through this with my students, it does exactly what it intends to do and make the tax process not seem so burdensome and confusing to students. I remember teaching taxes to my students before this, pencil and paper, or just trying to explain. I remember a long time ago, just trying to explain it via concepts. And I like a tool like this where you say, hey, let's learn about taxes by walking through the process and filing it. And I know that for my students, it's giving them confidence, and the questions that they ask, I just feel really rich. It's a great conversation, able to follow up with them and say, okay, did you do it? Did your family? We like that. We like encouraging students to go home and have those conversations with their family and say, hey, I have a question. How do we file taxes? And what's the method we use? And if we use TurboTax, and if so, or if not, what are the ways we do it? That's one of our goals too, is encouraging students to become confident, to have conversations with their family about finances and money. So that's resource number one. And just to recap, there's the online simulation, there's a toolkit for teachers, there's a scholarship program that we have. There's information about that on the page that Jared talked about. That's a really exciting thing that we offer to encourage students to learn about filing taxes. And the learnings from students are about what it is to file, what are tax credits, what's the gig economy, and how does it affect me if I have a gig, side job, college students, implications for that, and investments are some of the things we touch on in these modules. And that's the simulation that I showed you and talked about. And like I said, there are 5 total, and it's about an hour's worth of learning plus supplements. All right. This next one, financial literacy foundations. This is an interactive series of teachings and learnings and tools on personal finance. It's great for self-paced learning, easy online. We at Intuit have workshops for teachers to understand how to use these in the classroom. There's a lot of great things about this, but one of the features of this tool is for teachers who say, hey, I'm looking for a resource. I may not feel as confident teaching personal finance. There's probably a lot of you in the room that feel overly confident and have resources beyond what you think you need for personal finance. I know I experienced that. Oh, I think about my 6th or 7th year as a teacher. Every year I was going to some personal finance conferences, and by the 7th or 8th year, my division head said, hey, you going to the conference again this year? I said, I need one more personal finance resource, like I need a hole in my head. And so I felt maxed out at the time, but certainly after a few years of not teaching it and then jumping back in, I'm always looking for new resources. So while I think this is great for all, it's great for interactive, self-paced learning. I want just everybody in the room to be aware that one of the reasons this was created was for teachers who feel under-resourced in how to teach personal finance. So I'm going to take us to financial literacy foundations, and I will be surprised later if Jared drops the link afterwards or beforehand.
You just give me when the cue is, and I have it ready here for everyone.
Deal. Yeah, we just partnered with Nadamic and Sue to do some work in promoting financial literacy, these workshops that we've created. And that's exciting for us and for all students. And I want to take you down to financial literacy foundations. There it is. Here's the course. I'm going to take you through one so you understand the mechanism, how this works. First of all, it appears, we want it to appear that's nice and easy, no barriers to getting access. There is a login screen. Up at the top right now, all we have is the toggle to Spanish. But once I get started, I can create a simple account. There's no personal information asked for, just something simple so it can store my progress in my browser. We've got 9 playlists down here, ranging from basics to college, retirement, investor, small business, startup. I'll take us today through, let's look at investor education. So we call these playlists. Like I said, now the login screen pops up once I select a playlist. I'm not going to do that in the interest of time. I'll just tell you that the login is really simple, and then it'll allow you to store your progress. So I can look at any of these, all of these in order. Let's just do a quick introduction to the stock market. So I'll skip get started, and I'll decide I just want to do intro to the stock market. As I said, this is great for asynchronous learning. This is great for students to work at self-paced. We think this is great for students to use just as a primer to get started and understand the basics and lead to great discussions. So we have the playlist. Within a playlist, we selected a topic, and then inside this topic, we have the different learning modules. So what are we going to learn about? We're going to learn about diversify investments to build wealth. We learn the basics of what a stock is. We learn why companies sell stock. Stock market prices. I look at the different factors that impact prices. different topics about what makes prices go up and down. Why people invest. At any point, I can leave and exit out. And that was just one article within a series of topics on a playlist. And if I'm logged in, or maybe because I just started this even without logging in, nope, because I'm not logged in, it won't tell me. If I had logged in, it would, oh, it did, right there. 3 minutes left. Of course, if I close this browser tab right now and come back without logging in, that won't keep that. Otherwise, that'll keep, and eventually it would show what's completed. So Jared, now would be a great time if you want to drop the link to Financial Literacy Foundations.
I had quite a few people asking me, so I dropped it 30 seconds ago, but it was much better than a couple minutes prior, but they just got it.
It's a democracy tonight. So because there's a lot here, I'm going to just leave maybe 60, 90 seconds rather than just bookmarking the site. Why don't you go ahead and open up that tab, definitely bookmark it, and then just take 60 seconds to pick one playlist and dive in. And I'll practice my intentional silence as a teacher, which if you're like me, 60 seconds feels like an hour. So go ahead and take a look.
Couple quick questions that I'm getting. I see a few around completion. How do we know when it's ready? So when students finish each of the lessons, as Dave was kind of showing, it just kind of showcases and highlights a lot. I mean, he didn't complete any, but it says when it's completed on each student's kind of their login screen. So then they can see the progress and when it is finished. Georgina, we don't have like certificates for completing these courses. It's more just a recognition of completion that you can see in the students' accounts.
Yeah, I want to speak to that as a teacher. I'm aware there's some resources that I use in my classroom where it's really important to me to have a teacher tab or a progress bar for some of my courses, like my computer science course. Everything I do, the students are logged in and I can monitor and track progress and date and timestamp and completion. Those are great things as a teacher that in some of my classes for some of the topics I can't do without. This and the TurboTax, the last resource in this one, they just don't come with that. The goal is to have something for teachers and students that are simple and easy to access and dive right in. But they do not have a teacher student management system or teacher facing page. All right, well, that was 60 seconds. Please keep firing questions to us, but I'm going to move on. We have 2 more resources left to talk about.
Just giving you a time check, Dave. You have about 30 minutes.
Yep, we're going to leave time for questions at the end. Thanks, Jared. All right, so Financial Literacy Foundations, we talked about that and the different pieces we have there. All right, I saved our big one for the middle right here. Our Mint simulation is incredible. Can we get a thumbs up, Jared? Can we get a thumbs up from anybody who has used our Mint simulation? Anybody in the room has already seen this? I got one. Zoom's so positive, Jared. It doesn't come with a thumbs down. You know, if you ask a question,
I just realized that I've been looking for not the reactions but the chat. So I'm glad that you're looking at reactions. I'm looking at chat and seeing a few thumbs up.
Yeah. There's no like rotten banana peel, icon that somebody can throw.
I have somebody, Dr. Margot. She's saying that she has not seen the simulation, but she uses Mint, which is pretty cool to hear.
For sure. We like this simulation a lot. It's a little bit of a deep dive, so I'm going to get started as a teacher would, and I'm going to if I send you the link right now to the page where you can get started, so I'm going to ask the whole group to kind of hold tight on this because I'm going to bypass a couple steps and get right in. So here's what we have. For those people who use Mint or something similar, Mint's a great tool for budgeting and managing your personal finances, but it's private. I remember actually a long time ago, I was teaching something to my students about banking, and I debated for a minute whether I should pull open my Chase account and just show them my screen. And I was like, oh, this really stinks. I want them to understand. I was like, I want to show them something about transferring money. And it'd be really easy. Just open up my screen and say, see, here's my account. And watch me move $100 back and forth. But of course I didn't want to. That's personal and that's private. And so we have a Mint simulation, which puts students as close as we can to looking at Mint in a simulated format. So I'm going to dive right in. Here's how this works. There's a couple steps that it's going to take. This is the first screen to get started, in which students are going to create an account as if, and it looks very similar to the actual page for creating a Mint account. But what we have students do is we have them create a fictional email address. And it has to end in at intuiteducation.com. Later on, I will show you where the directions are to this, so you don't just wonder how you're supposed to remember it, but just trust me for now. That to access the simulations, students create an email address. I'm going to close a couple tabs because I'm getting feedback that my internet may be spotty. All right. It looks for a moment like I've got a problem, but it did validate that I created an email address ending in @Intuit Education, and I continue to Intuit. For those of you who have an existing Intuit account, it's impossible for you accidentally to crossbreed your real account and your fictional account. We made sure of that. And the only piece of identifying information it asks is just for a zip code. Doesn't ask for name or age or date of birth or social security or anything of that nature. What's happening right now is as it connects and loads, it builds a profile for students. So it's connecting to a fictional series of accounts for a persona named Isaiah, which we're going to get in and see as soon as the internet cooperates. Perfect. So I can't have you bookmark this tab, for example. Don't bookmark this. We'll get you there in a second, but I took the steps to get in. So this is the welcome page. We have a series of activities, and they are all about a fictional persona, Isaiah. He's a college student with a job, a bank account, some debts, who spends money on a daily basis, who might be bad at budgeting.
And might have a coffee addiction.
Yes, he does have a coffee addiction.
So we have a series of 5
activities. And like the last tools, these will track the students, both TurboTax and FLF and Mint will track students' progress. Savings, credit, and budgeting. But we highly recommend that students start with the Introduction to Mint, which just talks about a series of things and exposes students to what Mint looks like. We get started, talks about the key concepts that we're going to learn, the tabs, what we need to know before we go. All right, we are about to do Intro to Mint. It looks like I'm getting a link account error, Jerry.
Do you want me to try on my end real quick?
Yeah. That is not what we want to see happen real quick. While Jared's doing that, and he's going to take a look, I'm going to talk about the resources. So we have 2 resources for teachers. The first one explains these activities. It explains the intro to Mint, the savings, the credit card, the income and expenses. Directions for teachers, an overview of who Isaiah is, activity directions, a survey students can take, and then a page of directions for students. The second link that we're going to share with you tonight talks about these steps that I just did to get started and connected. It routes you to minteducation.intuit.com, creates an account, talks about saving your progress, shows some screenshots that I just showed, and gets you started. So everything I just showed you is condensed in a couple pretty simple handouts. I'm going to drop the link in chat. Or actually, I'm going to have Jared do it in a moment. Jared, any progress, and can you drop the link?
Sorry, you need me to drop the link in?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I will grab that. All right, and link is now live.
So the link you just got is reflected on my screen, and I just want to make you aware, if you're saying this doesn't look like the screen that David Coach just took us to, this talks about it, and there's a simple step down here. In order to get to these 2 toolkits, you need to just enter your information so we can know who you are and follow up with you, and that will get you to a page that has both of these PDF resources, how to connect to Mint, and an overview and directions page.
Dave, would you like me to share my screen really quickly? I have the introduction and the account overview if you'd like.
Perfect, that'd be great.
All right, just work with me here. Tell me where you want my screen to go.
Perfect, this is awesome. All right, thanks, Jared, for doing that. So here's what we have, and apologies that my account didn't load correctly. The top of the screen shows a piece of Mint. So inside that gray box, we're looking at the Mint application tool. What we did is we just inserted pieces of the Mint tool, but we kept everything off to the side so students couldn't get sidetracked or led down a path that we didn't want them to go down. We wanted to give them a guided learning experience about Mint. So Jared's looking at the top of his screen, he's looking at Mint. We said this is a fictional persona named Isaiah. So as a teacher, I would say to my students, this is Isaiah. Isaiah has a checking account. Isaiah has a savings account. Isaiah has some credit cards, and we can scroll up and down. The bottom of each page then asks a question for students to learn. So it says, question 1, welcome to Mint's overview tab. Mint imports financial data, and Jared can go ahead and type that Isaiah's first account is called My Checking.
Would you like me to go ahead and do all of these for you real quick?
Yeah, go ahead while I talk about it. So what Jared's doing right now, what we're really excited about is that part of the screen we're seeing the Mint tool. The second part of the screen, we're seeing where answers go. Yep, I see a question. We will make sure this recording is shared. So even though this is going to take Jared a couple moments to do, Jared's answering all these answers, and then this will tell the students if they're correct or incorrect. We'll see if Jared can go 5 for 5 here. If not, we'll tell him what we got wrong.
A lot of pressure, Dave.
So, Marianne, I see your question. I'm going to take that in a little bit about college because our fictional persona does have college debt. So, Jared, just stay right there for a second. If any of these were wrong, it would point out to the students which ones were wrong, and they'd give them a chance to correct them. There's like a 2-try limit, and then it'll tell them what they got wrong and let them move on. So what did the students learn from this? Hopefully they learned at the very least that Mint is financial management tool and that imports accounts from different banks. His auto loan, his credit card, his school loan, his savings and checking. And then
One thing really quickly, I'll click next. I think one thing that's important, you kind of just touched on, Dave, what makes Mint different from like how you talked about your Chase account is it's all of your accounts in the student's perspective. It's all their fictional accounts in one place. That's sort of easy to understand. So it is your full financial picture and not just your one Chase account, not just your one maybe local credit union. It's really being able to compile his full picture and see here what students need to for Isaiah.
Exactly. So that this is just one. So you've just seen, this is question 2. This is 2 of 15 or a dozen or 15 questions just on the intro to Mint. Next question happens to be a drop down about his does he have more of this or that on hand? And Jared can either get that right or wrong either way. And if he gets it wrong, he can try again. And then we can go back out and see the other activities. Perfect. He got it right on the second try. And again, on each screen, so now we're looking at a different piece. We've seen now 3 different portions of Mint in 3 questions. This one tries to illustrate that everything Isaiah does. So today is November 29th, and so we see what Isaiah did on November 29th, just like you and I and others have on our bank accounts. And if you come back and you do this activity on December 5th, you'll see more transactions up to the 5th. So it's Isaiah is living this life, even though he may not be real. He's virtually existing, and there's his addiction to coffee that happens way too much, and his credit card payments and the different things that he spends money on. And so, Jared, if you would pop back out to activities. There you go. We see that his progress on intro to Mint was saved. And then we still have savings and credit and budgeting and credit reports. Jared, why don't you hit that quiz on intro to Mint really quick as well? At the end of each, we have a quiz. And we can see what students are learning. It'll also grade the students' quiz form and let them know they did. All right. I'm going to see, since Jared, you just led that, I'm going to ask, is there a charge for this? If yes, I'm not going to read the second part of that question because the answer is no. Oh, there is no charge. These are freely available tools. All right, Jared, I will let you check back to the Q&A when we go back to taking over. Thanks for the teamwork on that. All right, am I back? Can you see my slides?
We can. You're good, Dave.
All right, so that was Mint simulation, and you can see a couple pieces of that and what that looks like. Really excited about that one. There's a lot more to say, but I know hopefully you bookmark that and can find the resources and can take some time to look at that and follow up and let us know if you have questions. All right, and the last one I'm going to talk about is Kahoot, which is something new we just launched this school year. I don't know if we have a lot of Kahoot fans in the house. And let's do, oh yeah, there we go. We got all sorts of dark plums and hearts coming for this one. So this one, I'm okay with the link being dropped right away, Jared. Let's just start with the link and get them right to that Kahoot page where we have Intuit's official site. No, wait to grab that right here.
Link has been dropped.
I first knew that Kahoot was important about 7 or 8 years ago in a class where I challenged students to lead and teach a topic. And I said there had to be a beginning and an activity and a learning and some form of assessment at the end. I don't know how many years ago this was. And I think every single student said Kahoot. I thought, all right, they like this.
Dave, I have a question for you. Are you on Twitter?
Yeah, but I'm not very active. Yes, I'm on Twitter. Technical answer, yes. Go ahead, why?
I don't know. It's just a question from one of
Okay.
our audience members. I think maybe you're going to become a famous teacher. If there's a follow-up, I will let you know.
Okay, great. I don't even think I know my handle offhand, but I can find out. Is this where we admit embarrassing things like I'm not great with social media or not active on social media? So we have two things going on. We have a financial literacy library that we're building. Again, this is new. We just released this fall, and there's two things you'll see at our official Intuit homepage. A financial literacy library that we're building. We have 4 that we launched to begin with on filing taxes, credit cards, credit scores and reports, and checking accounts. And then we have a new series that we just came out with, like really, really, really new. And it's called our Money Mondays. And every week we have a new Kahoot. It's short. It's 4 to 6 questions. It's 5 questions long. And it talks about a topic that's going on in the world and tries to connect it to current events and personal finance. So we've got several. Looks like we've got about 7 weeks worth. We just launched our latest one yesterday, because it's Monday. And so we talk about different topics that are going on in the world. And we wanted to make this a resource for teachers. We know Kahoot's popular, exciting. I'm passionate about making sure that things that we talk about in our classes relate to what's going on in the world. I just talked to my accounting students about bonds a month ago. I remember telling somebody that I teach my students about bonds, and they say, "Oh my goodness, does everybody ditch that day or fall asleep 5 minutes in?" And, I know for me, it's exciting to talk about. Okay, what is the point? What does a bond do? Why would any group or entity or organization want to borrow money? So in this case, we had one about an NFL team that needs to build a new stadium, and we have one on interest rates. And so this is new. This is just launched. We're just getting this off the ground. I'm really excited to present this. Both our financial literacy library that will be built. You'll see this grow and expand throughout the year. And then also our Money Monday series, which will continue to have topics that we thought teachers could just use as a quick resource, something to insert in the day, get students talking. And as the library grows, there'll be more topics that relate to maybe what you're teaching in advance, so you can look. Or for right now, we just thought this is a great way if your class needs something fresh going on. I know as a teacher, if I can get students talking, I can always funnel it. So I like something like this to say, hey, let's get talking. And does this relate to what we're going to learn in class, or what we have learned, or what we might learn? Or just, hey, you signed up to be a business person and an entrepreneur. And I remember being challenged by both the high school and college professors that said, hey, if you want to be in business, you want to be sharp, you want to be an entrepreneur someday, you need to start thinking about what you read and what you pay attention to, and what you fill your brain space with. And that was a really exciting challenge to me. And so I hope that comes across as a creative resource for you. So Where are we? I think we're right about on pace for talking about what we're doing.
You are perfect, right on time. We have about 10 minutes left.
So just some questions as we talk about these resources. This is an entrepreneurship series, and so certainly the question, how does personal finance translate to entrepreneurship? I think it very much does. I know that for me, in my experience with students, um, it's about them getting passionate and excited and seeing that what we teach matters. That's the experience I've had time and time again. Sometimes I'm even surprised when a student reaches back and says, "Hey, I decided to switch and I'm going to study this based on the experience I had." Although I know it was very true for me. I saw the passion that a family member had for business, and I said, "Wow, they seem to have a smile and care about it." And I really think that having a success and an interest in personal finance is a nice, simple way to transition to, um, entrepreneurial work. Whether that's thinking about what is it like to start a business and manage money um, for more than just myself. What does it mean to have confidence that I can understand how taxes work, and that gives me confidence. I don't know how many of you in the room have the question. I know we're from all over the country, and you certainly know that there's different requirements by state for teaching personal finance, and so we approach these tools in very different ways. That all of these TurboTax, financial literacy foundations, Mint, Kahoot, we're aware that some people say, "Hey, I don't have a whole entire course devoted to personal finance, and I just have to plug these in." The class that I talked about, virtual entrepreneurship, that's one where we make time to talk about personal finance a little bit, even though it's an entrepreneurship course. We've talked as a district whether or not students should get their personal finance certificate through that course. So if you're in any way like me, maybe sometimes you have to make do with the classes you have. And I think finding ways to incorporate it and see the student response, and then certainly as more states try to become advocates to say, "Hey, this is important. We need this as a course, even as an elective."
Dave, I got a
Um,
question for you. If you don't teach
yeah,
personal finance, how could you fit something like this maybe in math or social studies, whether it's a lesson or
absolutely.
one of the units?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. I think about financial literacy foundations, for example, or the Money Mondays. Um, you know, I have a colleague that's great. I have a colleague, Tim, that's great. He teaches math, and he doesn't ever want to teach one thing that doesn't relate in a way. And I think, when we talk about bonds, for example, to build an NFL stadium, well, there's going to be something about calculating yields and understanding ratios and percents and payouts. We talk about playing the lottery, which is one of our Money Mondays that ties into probability. We talk about interest rates on the rise. That relates to the idea of, what's the time value of money, and I think that certainly relates to math. So, I look at something like our Kahoot work or um, our financial literacy foundations, and just say these are the little pieces where if you have time to tie these in and say, "Hey, this is some of the practical applications for this math." There's a lot of personal finance resources that exist. Um, Again, I don't know what your experience is. We probably range from people who say, "I don't have enough, I'm new, I'm not, I don't know what I'm doing," to people who say, "I've got too much." I think passion is necessary for teaching personal finance. I think students want to see that it's real and it matters and it's beneficial. That's the experience I had with TurboTax. I remember being really excited, saying, "All right, in between these next couple chapters in accounting, we are talking about filing your taxes. Even though it doesn't perfectly relate, we're going to take a day out of our class schedule and talk about, you know, uh, filing personal taxes. It's a part of accounting. It's tangential to it for sure."
For our Canadian folks, because I am seeing a couple questions come in, the tax simulation is not available in Canada. You can take it in Canada, it will work, but we do know, for example, W-2s are equivalent to a T4 in Canada, so it doesn't exactly correlate one-to-one and the taxes are different as of right now. We are looking into potentially making a Canadian version of the tax simulation that Dave did go through, but as of today, no, we do not have one. Question, Dave, for you from Holly. How much time would it take to get the students to go through all three TurboTaxes, Financial Literacy Foundations, and Mint?
So not good. Okay, so quick recap. That TurboTax simulation, all 5 of those, if you were just trying to get through them and you didn't make a ton of time for side discussion, that could be an hour. I think we advertised it as 25 minutes for Carlos and 5 to 10 minutes for the additional 4. So that's an hour. Financial Literacy Foundations, I think that one depends on if you're just going to assign it to students and have them go through. If again, when I assign things to students, I know that if I don't have a discussion or a checkpoint or something, students may just kind of click haphazardly through Financial Literacy Foundations and not pause and take it in. But that one you could choose how many playlists are important to you. For example, I know that one that jumps off the page that I was excited to look at was the retirement one. I was quicker to think about that in my class than I was about adulting, for example. So you could pick and choose each of those. Each playlist is billed as about an hour. So if you want to go through all those, and again, if you were having students kind of work as a pace where you were checking and saying, hey, let's talk about this at the end of each one, maybe less than an hour. So I could see that being several hours. And then what was the last one? Mint, probably about a class period, 45 minutes or so for each. So I'm going to call it 10 to 12 hours if you wanted to have a good experience and have some discussions and make sure students learn in a way that, you were able to talk with them and communicate and follow up. So 10 to 12 hours.
Awesome. We have about 3 minutes left. If anybody has any other questions, last minute burning questions coming in. I see a question from Betty that she's talking about, have you ever used Next Gen Personal Finance's financial algebra course? It utilizes math principles and also has interactive lessons.
If you're asking me, yeah, I am familiar with NGPF. I haven't used that particular one. I'm not a math teacher, but I've seen NGPF's resources, and I know they have some great resources. So thanks for that plug.
All right, we have about 2 minutes left. We will be here to take any questions you have. I'm going to post in the chat one more time for everyone. All the webinars and recordings will be posted to intuit.com /entrepreneurship month. I just put it in the chat again. Let me see, I got a question from Tina. That's a good one, Dave. Ready for this? How can I convince my college to bring back personal finance to the college?
Oh, my goodness.
You might not have all the answers in your hat here.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm giving a professional answer. Pull aside 15 college students and ask them a series of questions on personal finance, and if they score a 50% or lower, that'd be a good way to start, right? We talk about our students set up for success. I have to be honest, that's outside of my normal scope of what I do, but I know the difficulty it's been for me to convince a high school to adopt an ed classes if it's in any way the same for colleges. It took us a long time. We had to make a strong case for it and got some pushback, and my high school said, yeah, for everything that we add, there's something we take away. And I spent a lot of time building a case for that entrepreneurship class and said, this is what students are going to get out of it. That's why it's important. I wish I could think of somebody off the top of my head to connect you to. but I think Jared and I know it's something we discuss all the time, that student confidence and personal finance is not at a high level just because whether somebody's 16 or 19. I think we've seen a lot of evidence to suggest that there's more learning that's necessary, and colleges, it would be well worth their time to take stock in making sure their students are. But I'm probably preaching to the choir on that one. I wish I had a
I think
better
that's why
answer
we're
other
all
than,
here, Dave.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, we are just over time. I want to thank everybody for the last hour. I know for some it's late, maybe dinner time, maybe some other plans. So thank you for joining us. Back in the chat again, I will post the link to where everything will be posted, all the webinars that you can rewatch. Uh, Please be on the lookout. We will be sending an email for survey. It's extremely helpful to us to hear what worked, what didn't work, what we can change. We do this in service for you, as we love and are very thankful for everything you do for students. And so if there's ways that we can make this better, we definitely want to know how. So if you would not mind taking the quick few question surveys when that does come out, we would be extremely thankful. We will hang on here for a couple more minutes, but please feel free to drop. And again, thank you so much. One more time, I'm going to pop the link into the chat for everyone. Dave, great job tonight. If anyone's still on and wants to give the thumb up for Dave, I think it's very warranted. There we go. Our new celebrity teacher, you're going to find your Twitter blowing up right now.
I don't know.
Just don't
I'm
quit your day
trying
job to
to
become
find
an
my
influencer.
no. Oh my gosh, that's definitely not happening. That's funny.